Mountaineer Nation, let's ride.
But Don Nealon's Mountaineers enjoy walking in where angels fear to tread. As the hills of West Virginia resound with the sounds of Golden Blue football. Here is Harris in trouble. Stiff arms. The would-be tackler comes down over the 25 to 20. Goes around about it to 15 to 10 to 5. A touchdown, West Virginia. He did it.
Fakes the Slater one-on-one with the defender. Look at Pat White.
West Virginia football. You know what that's about. They don't know what it's about. West Virginia football. Football, table.
Let them know. Leave no doubt tonight. Leave no doubt tonight. No doubt. They shouldn't have played the old Golden Blue.
It is a great night to be a Mountaineer wherever you may be.
And now, the show brought to you by Mountaineer fans for Mountaineer fans, the Country Roads Webcast.
What's going on, Mountaineer Nation? Welcome into Season 5, Episode 134 of the CRW Podcast, the Towson Preview and Predictions Edition. As always, I'm your host, Jordan Cruz, and I got my co-host, Steven, with me. What's going on, Steven?
What's going on, everybody?
Unfortunately, Bradley couldn't be here this week, so all three of us be back together again soon. But with that being said, there'll be no Mountaineer Multiple Choice game show at the end this week, so I figured we'd switch up the segments a little bit.
So I win.
Yeah, Steven automatically
by
wins by default. Yep, 100%. Claim that victory. Claim that victory. I don't blame you. I would
get them
too.
any way I can.
Yeah, that's the way it goes. That's the way it goes. No call, no show, like if it's a job, right?
That's right. That's right.
So we're still going to get into off-topic babble, but just going to put that on hold briefly, momentarily. Instead of it being the first segment, it's going to be the second, because we're going to kick it off with kind of final thoughts on West Virginia's loss to Kansas and kind of the start to the season. I know, Steven, we did the post-game, instant reaction stream immediately following the game. You didn't get to be on the Kansas review and reaction, Season 5, Episode 132 of the podcast, or 133, excuse me, of the CRW podcast. But so, just kind of wanted to get your thoughts a little bit on where you're at now, not immediately following, but, a few days removed now from the loss to Kansas and the drastic change of the tone of the Mountaineer fan base to one of, being kind of finished with this regime and ready to move on, and just everything really that's transpired within the first two games of the Mountaineer football season. I guess, Steven, what are you thinking over there?
Obviously still disappointed. That hasn't changed, but with a few days to digest everything, I said it even in the in the reaction show that my feelings probably would change slightly. I'm still off that Neil Brown train, so to speak. I'm not really riding that anymore because I haven't seen anything produced on the field, like I said before. But with a few days to digest and everything, I still have time to jump back on that train. So I try to be as optimistic as I can as a fan, because I feel like there's enough pessimism, in the world alone, and then in this fan base especially sometimes, that I try to be someone that's really optimistic. With that said, I'm still very, very discouraged from what I've seen on the field. We've talked time and time again on how we finally get one thing fixed, and then in terms of offense or defense, we get one thing fixed, and then it's the other thing we have to focus on. Then you listen to the press conferences today, and certain points you're like, okay, well, that's encouraging, and then for the most part, I just didn't hear anything from anybody today that I felt more encouraged about, going further along into this season. And so I think this weekend, I think a few times I've heard it on a few podcasts that this weekend, you're probably going to get some fool's gold because it is Towson, and
Right.
I don't want to overlook anybody, especially because I predicted what I predicted last week. So there's always a chance, but with the talent that we have on the offensive side of the ball, and with the defensive front that we know we can that can play well. I expect West Virginia to come out and play well this week, but moving forward after that, I'm not as confident going into week 4, especially going into week 5. So the answer, I guess, would be, I still feel generally the same about how I expected this season to start and go for this whole entire team, let alone the coaching staff. But it's you can only go so many seasons and back someone up, and how many excuses they can have about what happens on the field. And it doesn't take that long to build a program in today's game. And I know that we talk time and time again about what he was left with, but if you want to compare and make those comparisons, what was Kansas left with? When Leipold took the helm over that way, not even 2 seasons ago. So, we can sit here and make arguments and arguments and arguments for people, but at the end of the day, you've got to produce. And you can say that you're more frustrated, but I promise you, you may have lived it, quote unquote, but I mean, it's not what you didn't do it for your whole life. You did that for your childhood. People like us, we've dedicated our entire lives to going to these football games. And I get it. Like, you put your blood, sweat, and tears into it when you play or you coach. And I'm not taking that away from them, but I feel like, that was a stab at the fan base, if anything, from what I heard from Neil Brown's presser today. Kind of a transition into that, if you will.
Yeah. No, I agree with you 100%. And I'm glad you brought that up about Kansas and, what Leipold had, because, to me, that's what, one of the final thoughts that I kind of had about it was just that, the things that really drove home to me how it was right that we were disappointed as we are, and how we're finally, everyone's kind of seeing, what others have seen, I guess, before us, that, we thought were wrong, but maybe, it looks like those of us that were preaching trust to climb may have been wrong. Like I said, there's still 10 games to tell, but, I think what really drove that home is what you said when I thought about it, a couple things, and one of those being West Virginia being 0-2 for the first time since 1979. Never at New Mountaineer Field ever being 0-2. Unbelievable stat. And then, of course, what you said as well, we've thought for a while, we need to give Brown 3 years, 4 years. And, of course, this year we thought we had the pieces anyway. And that's been the one reason we've been, preaching the trust to climb, is because how bare the cupboard was left. But, I heard another podcast put it a great way. There wasn't even a cupboard for Lance Leipold. Probably he had to build the cupboard before he could even stock it. And they're in year 2. And not only is it year 2, but he didn't get there till after spring football in year 1. So really a year and a half. And they've got enough pieces to where they can do what they did offensively and manhandle West Virginia the way they did in year 4. So you can't, like I said, no more excuses. That's what it boils down to. There can't be any more excuses when you got coaches that have been hired after you that are, performing better than you. That's just what it boils down to, really. And switching over to the presser, since, we did want to kind of transition that a little bit. The one thing from me, the quote that stood out, I know he said it, and I believe it was in Caden Prather's press conference that said it as well, and said, Coach Brown tells them that, and, I guess they were trying to drive that home, but the quote was, "Never take criticism from someone you wouldn't go to for advice." I mean, how's that come across to you?
Again, I take it as a slap, you know what I mean? Because you can sit there, and what really got me though was what he said after that. He said, we're 0-2 right now, but we could be 2-0. Yeah, we could be. And then he also said, I could also be an NFL player if I run a little bit faster. What? What does that mean?
I don't know.
I mean, so you're saying basically like, yeah, we could win games, but we're not, and you're basically just saying you're giving up in that sense. I heard a lot of things in the beginning of his presser today that almost were encouraging, and I'm like, okay, well, it seems like he's got some fire in his belly. You don't really hear Neil get too fired up too much until this season, really. And then you come out and you make comments like that. I mean, I think both of those comments, along with a few others, were kind of slaps in the face towards the fan base, if you will, because I feel like if anything, we deserve. He even said it. We deserve to be frustrated in the way that we are. But then you come out and you deliver 15 excuses on why you didn't win the football game. Oh well, we're down so many players on this side, and this player made plays, and you highlight what we did well. Well, that's fine and dandy. You're not winning football games. That's what you were hired to do as a football coach. The first and foremost thing that you were hired to do was win football games at WVU. You haven't done that. And to my knowledge, he has the worst starting record at WVU since the Frank Cignetti era. Maybe even before that. So, we talk about 1979, and I've told time and time again about how many times I've talked about those seasons with my grandfather, and even before that, going back into the 60s and 50s. Those were hard times for Mountaineer football, man. We dug ourselves from the ground up, and I guess what really makes me most frustrated is, we spent how many decades building ourselves out of that, and then 4 years into the Neil Brown era, after we're trusting the climb, we're falling into a deeper hole than we climbed out of. So it's very discouraging as a fan to see where that's headed, if that's where we're truly headed as a program.
Yeah, extremely worrisome. But, I guess flipping over, look on the other side of the coin, some of the things that you did, like you said, he did say some positive things early. And, I think one of those is that they still have, 10 games left. And he said, this can be a fork in the road to where we look back on it like that's where it really went wrong. That's where we lost it. Or we look back on it, that's where we got it, the thing turned and the program changed and we started to win games. Because it's possible. It like I said,
it is possible.
Right now it's very hard. It's very hard to see, and we don't think it's likely. I think most fans don't think it's likely, and are going to be more surprised if they turn it around than if it continues, the way it has been. Just because you have a huge sample size of 3+ years now of it being this way, so it's hard to see it turn on a dime like that. But like I said, there's always a slim chance, so it's not ruled out. Let's continue to cheer on the Mountaineers, see how it goes the rest of the way. But any final thoughts on Kansas or the season or anything West Virginia related before we hop off onto some off topic?
No, I mean, all I want to say is, I probably said it 50 million times, but I'm hard and I'm harsh on the things that I say about the coaching staff and sometimes the players. But I will always support this team. I will always support, no matter who it is, I will support the coaching staff while they're at WVU. So I can be frustrated. I feel like I have that right to, as a fan, after everything that we've been through as a fan base, where we have the right to be frustrated at times. But I will say that I will be there every game cheering on the Mountaineers that I can. I looked at it the other day, and I think I'm only missing 4 games for the Mountaineers this year in its entirety of the season. And that's pretty dang good. So I'm proud to say that I support them that much, and I will be proud to say that whenever we're back and winning football games. I think that's one thing that I'm most proud of, is to say that I supported this team, all through their low times, because I feel like that's what makes you appreciate everything, when everything does go good.
Yep, 0-12 or 12-0. We're there no matter what. Going to be cheering on the Mountaineers and enjoying the chances that we get to watch Mountaineer football. Like I said on a previous episode, there's only 12 opportunities to do that in, a 365-day span. And then the rest of the time you spend, look forward to get to do it again. So even when the chips are down like they are right now, still looking forward to Saturday and this matchup against Towson and, getting to see the Mountaineers take the field yet again and hoping that things turn around. But that being said, we're going to hop into some off-topic babble. All right, off-topic babble is where we like to just get out of off of sports for a second. I mean, well, not necessarily off sports. Sometimes we'll babble about sports, but I guess more off of WVU a little bit and just kind of talk about, what we've been experiencing, anything we've read, anything we've watched, just anything in life really, off topic as the segment name suggests that we want to babble about. So, Steven, what's been going on? Anything you want to touch on?
Man, I always do this, but I don't know if it's considered off-topic babble if you're talking about the NFL, if you're talking about a former Mountaineer even.
Hey,
But
to me, if it's not WVU related, it is.
well, it kind of is. I mean, I think we would be remiss if we didn't talk about Gino's performance. That was my
hoping that's
off-topic
what you was going to
babble.
bring up.
Oh man, my man went off, and I knew he would. I've been
awesome.
calling it on this show. You heard it here first years ago when the man was playing in New York. I've been saying that this man was a baller. Of course, you've been following Mountaineer football for a while. You already know that, but man, it's so good to see him do well. It's so good to see him do well in such a high emotion game. With Russell Wilson coming back, horrible clock management at the end of that football game, though. I must say
that was bad.
Especially for a veteran. But man, gotta be happy for my man Gino in that situation. And Pete Carroll at the age of 70 hopping up and down the sidelines. That was fun to watch too.
Yeah, glad to see Gino finally getting a chance to start again. Feel like, he should have already had that chance probably again. Things got tainted or whatever, but he was good with New York. People forget when he was first in there as a rookie and things, he was just thrown in the fire probably before he was ready, but still performed and just, never really got a shot again. But now here we are a decade later. He gets the chance and he absolutely balls out on Monday Night Football. So you got to love it. And then, of course, lead the Seahawks to the win over their former quarterback in Russell Wilson. Definitely awesome. As for me, trying to think, I don't know if I really watched. I've been watching, She-Hulk, of course, on Disney Plus. It's hit or miss. It's funny. I like the comedy in it all. I'll say that.
Yeah.
CGI a little spotty and stuff, but it's enjoyable. It's a fun watch for sure. I'm looking forward to so much. Clerks 3 comes out this week. I got tickets for Thursday night. Going to go out to Christiansburg. It's like one of the closest places it's playing to us. But yeah, it's only got like a 5-day theater run. If you're not going to see it like on the tour that Kevin Smith is touring it on with Jason Mewes, but you got to pay extra for that or whatever. But 5-day was like a 2-day theater run, just like his last movie, Jay and Silent Bob reboot, but they extended it to a 5-day because of like high demand. So I was able to get tickets for Thursday. I think it actually came out. We're recording this on Tuesday. I think it came out today. But I'm super hype. I'm a huge Kevin Smith fan. I'm looking at a Clerks poster right now, a couple Kevin Smith pops, Kevin Smith's books over there on my writing desk. So, yeah, Kevin Smith's been a big influence on me and stuff. So I'm super excited. Clerks probably like my all-time favorite movie. It's definitely up there. So I can't wait. Clerks 3, it's going to be awesome because Clerks 3 is getting super meta with it, right? Like the character Randall in the movie is like having a heart attack like Kevin Smith did, but he's also making a movie in the movie, which is going to be in black and white, like the original Clerks. So basically, the guy in the movie Clerks 3 is making the original Clerks. Kind of, it's super meta angle. It's pretty cool from the trailer, so I'm super excited about that one. But yeah, that's definitely what's on the top of my mind, off topic babble wise.
Yeah, that's awesome. I didn't even know. I had no idea that movie was coming out, so that's pretty cool. I'm a little excited to see that one myself. Yeah, I was getting ready to.
Funny.
Yeah, if you didn't touch on how big of a Kevin Smith fan you were, I was going to touch on that for you because I don't think anybody on this listening base understands how big of a Kevin Smith fan that you are.
I don't think we have enough time for me to really dive into it, but I'll just try to give a little brief synopsis anyway.
Yeah, he can go on for hours. Don't get him started on the flim flams either.
I could. Oh yeah, you don't want to get me started on some conspiracy theory, flim flams. Anything else? Some flim flam men. I can go in, but we'll save that for another day and another time. Yeah, that's a different podcast right there. I think. I don't know though.
Hey, but we're cooking up ideas here.
I was about to say it is off topic babble. So you never know what we'll get into in future episodes. But as far as this one's concerned, anything else off topic you want to touch on before we dive into some Mountaineer news?
Yeah, a little bit, man. If anybody in here is a big fan of like rabbit holes that you get time in the evening, you don't really have any time to you got time to kill. A good rabbit hole to get down into is string theory. That's a great one to look into.
That is a good one.
That's
That
some
is
good
a good one.
off-topic babble right there.
Yep, there you go. Yeah, y'all go check that out. Y'all be, on the laptop for a few hours. Just it's gonna definitely send you down the rabbit hole on that one. I'll
Oh,
let you guys
absolutely.
find that one out on your own. But yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. All right, so that's off-topic babble for this week in season 5, episode 134. Now let's dive into the Mountaineer news. All right, Mountaineer news segment here. This is where we like to give you some Mountaineer football and basketball news. Usually throw in some recruiting news as well, but without Bradley here, going to miss out on that this week, but we will have him update us on some recruiting news again next week for the Virginia Tech Preview podcast. But that being said, Stephen, Mountaineer basketball news. I know it's kind of the calm before the storm there, but what do we got going on the basketball front?
Yeah, not really a whole lot going on team-wise, in the news front. Just obviously, if you haven't heard about it, you've been living under a rock. But congratulations rather to the Huggy Bear, finally getting into the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame. Well deserved, long overdue. And I think that you could see the gleam in everyone's eye around that room if you watched his acceptance speech. And I think I even got teary-eyed watching it. They played it at the stadium the other day. But big congratulations to the Bear on that one, because I thought we was gonna have to wait until his retirement to have to wait until that to see that. So I'm just glad that they finally went ahead and put him in there.
Absolutely. Definitely well deserved and long overdue, as you said. And I'm right there with you. I was watching some of the videos the other day, the shout outs from former players and other coaches and things. And definitely something that'll get you emotional, especially if you watch Coach Huggins' speech. But, one of the greatest college basketball coaches of all time. So certainly well deserved. And hopefully, can still give West Virginia some important wins. And he's going to keep fighting to get that natty. So we'll see what he can do for the Mountaineers in basketball, not only this season, but moving forward, because I think he still has some years left in him. That being said, I'll dive in on some football news. I know Frank Cignetti, we briefly mentioned him earlier, former Mountaineer coach, passed away on Saturday, actually, sadly. So it was sad to hear about that. But once a Mountaineer, always a Mountaineer. And prayers out to his friends and family. Another Mountaineer news, football news, Pat McAfee is joining College Game Day in a full-time position as one of the co-hosts there. So that was really awesome to hear. Then coming up this Saturday during the Towson game, Hall of Fame inductions, and you're going to see 3 former Mountaineers. Hard to believe they're already eligible, but Geno Smith, Tavon Austin, and Stedman Bailey are all going to be inducted in the WVU Hall of Fame, and Stedman Bailey will actually be there in person. Tavon and Geno will not be able to, of course, but I think that they're going to send in video messages or something like that. I do believe. A little bit of a stat update here, a couple weeks into the season now. Really, just the main one I wanted to point out was Bryce Whedon with the opening to the season he's having. I know there's been a lot of talk, bad and negative talk surrounding the team, but want to point out some of the positives, and definitely his performance has been one of them. He actually leads the Big 12 in receiving yards, leads the Big 12 in receiving touchdowns, and leads the Big 12 in receptions. He has 249 receiving yards, 4 receiving touchdowns, and 20 receptions. He also is currently 2nd in the nation in receptions and 3rd in the nation in touchdowns. Beyond that, just taking a look around the conference for the upcoming week 3 this week, going in chronological order in kickoff times here. Number 6, Oklahoma, traveling to take on Nebraska at noon. Texas State traveling to take on number 17, Baylor at noon. Ohio University traveling to Iowa State at 2 o'clock. Tulane traveling to play Kansas State at 3 o'clock. Kansas going on the road to face Houston at 4 o'clock, and the Fighting Dana Holgerson's there. Arkansas Pine Bluff on the road to number 8 Oklahoma State, and that's going to kick at 7. Texas Tech goes on the road as well to face a ranked team in number 16 NC State. Defense coordinator Tony Gibson there, also a 7 o'clock kick in that one. And then UTSA going on the road to take on the now ranked number 21 Texas Longhorns at 8 o'clock. And then, of course, our Mountaineers will kick off at 1 o'clock on ESPN Plus. 0-2 Mountaineers taking on the 2-0 currently Towson Tigers. That being said, Stephen, any thoughts as far as football news or any of the Mountaineer news we've shared here in this one?
No, I'm really intrigued to see that Kansas and Houston match.
Yeah, that's what I was hoping you'd comment on, because I am too.
Yeah, I'm really excited. What time does that game kick off?
That one is 4 o'clock.
4 o'clock. So I'll be able to watch that one as my drive home from Morgantown.
There you
on
go.
Saturday, which I up to this point I think I might be going up there by myself right now. I don't think anybody's wanting to go watch them play right now.
It'd be therapeutic.
It might be therapeutic. You know, I've got a little Mountaineer family, if you will, that sits around me up there.
Yep.
And so I don't know if it would be that bad to go by myself for a week. I don't think I've ever done that, so might try that out this week.
Yeah, that'd be nice. Yeah, I'm definitely keeping an eye on that Kansas and Houston game, just because the simple fact of if Houston somehow pulls out that win, the people that, are the naysayers on the Neil Brown, the fire Neil Brown crowd is going to just have another feather in their cap with that one.
Oh, that's going to reinforce that argument.
Yeah.
Oh man, I didn't think about that, but that's a really good point. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's going to be interesting to watch how that plays out, and maybe kind of give us a good test to see where Kansas really is. But as far as the Mountaineers go, let's dive in a little bit talking about this Towson preview and get into our Towson preview and predictions. All right, so normally here we dive in pretty extensively as much as possible on the matchups, between the two teams. But with the, difference in level of play here, as this is an FCS team that West Virginia is going to be facing, instead of doing that, we're going to just focus on the Mountaineers, as we feel this is like a week the Mountaineers really do need to focus on themselves and improving more so than anything else. Focus on, the mental mistakes, the fundamentals, tackling, just simple things like that. But so what we're going to do instead of diving in on the matchups is we're just going to go on each side of the ball and both name something that we really want to see from that side of the ball, what we most want to see, whether it be an improvement or new face, anything, just whatever we want to see. So we'll start with the side that I think we can agree needs the most improvement on the defense, Stephen. And I'll kick it off first. I think on the defense, what I most want to see is just some new changes. I think it's time to see some new people mixed in there. I think we can agree that what we've seen so far hasn't worked, and especially with the knowledge now that Charles Woods is going to be out for this game, and who knows how long moving forward, but definitely out for this one. Malachi Ruffin struggled, so I think they're cycling him back to safety, kind of moving him out of that corner rotation. But Andrew Wilson-Lamp, we haven't seen him yet. Haven't seen Mumu Ben Wahad yet. Of course, he's going to be playing safety now. Neil Brown announced that today. But Jacoby Spells sounds like he could get some playing time. But I want to see some of these young guys, give them a chance. Why not? Your defense has been struggling. Let's see the Sonny Redwoods. Let's see the Jacoby Spells. Let's see the Mumu Ben Wahads. Let's see the Trey Lathans maybe even. And let's just try, and I want to see them trying different things on this defense, just so I know that they're truly trying to fix it and, make adjustments and improvements in areas that they really need. And specifically to me, that's in the secondary. I liked what I saw from Hershey McLaurin. Aubrey Burks is out, so maybe you're going to see Mumu back there, and that's one of the reasons why they transitioned him to safety. But what are your thoughts, Stephen? What do you want to see from this West Virginia defense this week in this matchup against Towson?
A lot of the things that you touched on, but first and foremost, I want to see the ability to be able to adjust. I think Jordan Leslie talked about how, they've seen, I think, upwards of maybe 70 or 70 plus plays. And they seen one formation 4 times, and that was the most that they seen one single formation out of that offense. And that's very impressive for the Kansas offense if you're thinking about it. But out of a veteran coaching staff on the defensive side of the ball, he even said it himself. It's on him to be able to adjust. It's on him to be able to see that and communicate that with his players. And so that would be the most important thing that I would want to see out of them this week is to be able to adjust on the fly. And you're only going to be able to do that so much because I would imagine that Towson's only going to throw so much at you offensively, being at the level that they're at. At that level, they don't, those offensive playbooks don't really get that deep. But I think moving forward into the season, that's going to be the biggest thing that you're going to have to do, because if you're already getting exploited in that way, it's just only going to get worse as the season goes on. And so I'm like you. I would like to see a lot of these younger guys get into the fold, see what they have. I'd obviously like to see the tackling be a little bit better. I don't know where that issue came from. Maybe just because some of these players haven't been in this defense for very long, but the arm tackling issues have got to be fixed. That's just something that I don't feel like West Virginia prides itself on and has never prided itself on. And I don't think any successful defense has ever been successful with arm tackling. So I just think that comes down to fundamentals. So that would be the top things that I would want to see.
I'd agree with you there 100%. Fundamentals definitely rings very loudly with this defense, or I guess lack thereof. It seems to be in the first two games. So definitely want to see improvement there. We'll flip it over to offense momentarily, but let's not neglect special teams here, Stephen. What do you want to see on special teams, from the Mountaineers side? Maybe it's something you haven't seen or something you want to see improve, but special teams wise, what's sticking out to you that you think you need to see on Saturday?
I think that the glaring issue, I think we need to talk about how good special teams has been to a point.
Mm-hmm.
If we're talking about the things that we need to correct, because I do think that the special teams overall, other than the kick return and punt return, have been a highlight. Overall. With that said, I think that we need to work on ball security on the punt returns. I think that
Amen.
if you're perfect in every other facet on special teams, and then that's your one issue, that's still a problem, because that's turnovers, and then you get Kansas, who scores on every turnover that they got in the game, and likewise in the Pitt game. Those points you're just leaving on the board, man. Like that issue has to be fixed. Ball security is the first and foremost thing that has to be fixed.
I agree. I'd agree with you there as well. I'm glad you said something about turnovers. Going back to defense, that's definitely something that I think needs to improve. Got to force turnovers. West Virginia's only forced one. They've turned the ball over 4 times. Terrible turnover differential, so that needs to change. But special teams wise, looking at it, I think you hit the nail on the head. The return unit's got to improve. Kickoff return. Kickoff return is more about, if seeing somebody make a play, they're not doing a bad job fielding the ball, or, maybe a couple times maybe didn't fair catch it when they should have, or vice versa. But punt return, let's just find someone to catch the ball, please.
No doubt.
It's been an issue for too long. That's definitely what I want to see. Improvement on the return unit, specifically, just fielding the ball and punt. That'd be a great start, but we'll go from there. Offense, let's flip it over. Definitely the bright spot of the season for the Mountaineers. I think, going into the season, we thought the offense can be improved. We knew they had pieces, but the question was, how long would it take for them to gel? How long would it take for the chemistry to line up? And it seems like it took no time, because it's definitely night and day from what we've seen the past 3 seasons from West Virginia. The Mountaineer offense clicking, but what do you want to see from it that you haven't seen to this point, Stephen, or something that you want to continue to see, even just when you're looking ahead to this Towson game and this matchup against an FCS opponent on Saturday, that you should be able to, hopefully not see the punter take the field once in this one. But what do you want to see from the Mountaineer offense?
Discipline. I hate to be, that fundamentally sound about things and just bland, but discipline. I mean, I'm so tired of seeing us get into a position where, we have a 3rd and 1 situation or, 3rd and goal situation, and then, a false start kills the whole drive. That's what with players that we have, and the leadership that we have. I know we have young guys, but there's still leadership there. Those things are issues that shouldn't even be issues, multiple times in a football game in those situations. Like, they're going to happen. I get that. It's football. But if you're a good program, you need to be fundamentally sound. And if you're not fundamentally sound, it's hard to be successful in any other way. You know what I mean? Like, they're called fundamentals for a reason. Those are, the basic fundamentals of the game. I mean, false starts, other than that, I think that the offense truly has been fun to watch this year. I mean, and especially in the first part of the game the other night. I mean, I think everybody in the fan base thought we were well on our way to, just having a blowout win and enjoying a night in Morgantown. But, I think, like the defense, the offense needs to be able to adjust on the fly too. Because if you're doing that to their defense early in the game, and then they adjust to what we're doing, we have to be good enough to adjust to that and be able to be successful going into the game. And I know that's easier said than done, but I just, I find it hard to understand how, if we can't find ways to adjust to a team like Kansas, how we're going to find ways to adjust to a team like Texas or, God forbid, Oklahoma, because, we were all hoping that this was that year. And it's looking less and less likely that West Virginia is ever going to get a win against Oklahoma in the Big 12 era. And that, we can talk all we want about 2007 and the Fiesta Bowl, but, that's a hard pill to swallow, especially with all the tough games that we've had with them.
It is. You've been right there, on the edge of it. And I think we're barking up the same tree, because I was going to say execution. You said discipline, but I think we're talking about the same thing. And, to that point, you mentioned Oklahoma and, some of the close ones we had with them. Just to show how much of this has been a trend, the things that we've seen this season that we've seen throughout, this Neil Brown's tenure at West Virginia. Look back last season at that Oklahoma game, right, Stephen? West Virginia ends up having to kick a field goal because they're getting ready to go in. They're on the 2-yard line or something like that. And what happens? A false start penalty. And they end up having to kick a field goal. And that's last season against Oklahoma. And here we are, first 2 games of this season. And how many times has that happened in the first 2 games? 3, 4? I mean,
way too many.
At least.
And in important situations of the football of that game anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, crucial times. That's what that's one thing I heard today is they got it down. They had, I think, 4 or 5 false start penalties in the first game, and they said they got it down to 2 in this game, but both of them were in extremely crucial situations, both of them on the goal line with West Virginia, with the chance to score. Or I think one was in a first and goal from the 10, and then one was on the goal line. But either way, they're both in goal-to-go situations when West Virginia has chances to score touchdowns, and I think they ended up kicking field goals on both of those drives. So it's just the same, problems rearing their ugly head that have, plagued West Virginia under this regime. And when it's happening for, 3+ years, it's more than a trend. It's, it falls on coaching. So they've got to get that turned around. So as far as the Mountaineer offense, it's discipline. Like you said, it's execution, as I was going to term it. But we're talking about the same things here, eliminating mental mistakes and just fundamentals. West Virginia has the talent in place, especially on offense. It's clearly obvious they've got weapons and, the ability to score points. So just eliminating those little crucial mistakes, So
like false starts, I don't like if it's the snap count that's causing the false start issues. I truly don't understand that, because high school, in freshman year of my high school, that was, if we weren't going on 1, if we were going on 2, 3, or 4, that was so stressed in the huddle before we walked up to the line that, what I mean? Like, if it's an issue, then in the huddle, we're like, hey, yo, if you jump off sides, like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, like
punch
right.
the point home in the huddle, man. Like, we can't afford any of that
I
stuff.
don't understand it. I don't understand that's all you think it would take, right? Is even I mean, I'm sure JT would be able to do that, but you think the coaches would have drove this home by now. I mean, it's 3 years of it. I don't understand
Right.
how do you keep allowing this to happen, right? And it's just things like that, those little discipline issues and stuff, that reflects leadership. This attitude reflects
Yep.
leadership, and I think discipline does too, or lack thereof. And that's all it can be. Like, what else could it be if you don't put that on coaching and the leadership of the team that they've been guided by? What else could it be?
That's exactly right. And that's why I guess it's the most frustration building, right now, is because you've seen it for however long now, and you expect those issues, if anything, to be fixed. I think, you can handle, a youthful receiver dropping passes every now and then. You can handle, a certain, side of the ball taking their lumps for however long. You can only handle so much of discipline issues lasting for however many years. That just shows bad leadership and not much progression within the program, if you will, in terms of how we're building.
Right.
Yeah, those are
So,
the first things you need to address as a coach, I feel like.
yeah, and I think going forward, we saw Shane Lyons come out with a statement that it's kind of like a wait and see approach, but almost kind of seemed like a bit of a silent warning to Neil Brown as well. But I think going forward, as much as they're going to be looking at, looking for wins and hoping to see wins, I think they're also going to be looking at things like that, the little minute details, to see, are they addressing these? Are we still here, let's say game 6, 7, 8, are we still having guys have a ton of false start penalties? Are we still having these mental mistakes? Are we still having poor tackling? Has anything changed from game 2 to game, insert number here, throughout this season? Or do we still look the same that we looked earlier in the season and that we've looked in past seasons? So I think as much as us and the fan base know something has to change, I think that those in the athletic administration as well know things have to change, and they're looking for that and hoping to see that, just as we all are. So let's hope that that they can do that and get the ball rolling on that, because time is just about ran out. They're at the very end of it, very end.
Yeah, and I think that like you said, it was more of a silent warning from Shane Lyons, because I hate to say it, but like, all last year we talked about were, man, we were in how many games that were one play away from being, a win, however many wins more than we had. But how many times are we going to have to say that, and how many seasons? Because the first 2 games of this year turned out the same way. So if you get 3 or 4 more games that turn out this way, and you get all of them end up on the losing side of the ball, I hate to say it, but have we reached our peak with how good this coaching staff can get this program here? And if so, then then we obviously need to move on, because we're a better program than that. We deserve to be better than that. And I love the way that he's recruited, but if that recruiting doesn't come to fruition, if you don't see it on the field, then what's the point of it? You just got a bunch of 5 stars that's losing football games.
Yeah. And that's what I said. You can do everything right. I mean, and he seems like he does everything right except win. But unfortunately for him, that's the only thing that matters at the end of the day is wins. I mean, that's what you're here to do, is win. You can do, I mean, he's done great things with the community. He's done great things with the program and programs he's installed within the program. And, like you said, recruiting. And that's all well and good. And that's awesome. And that's a big turnaround from the previous, coaching staff, a lot of those things, especially involvement with, the community and media and such. But, and, as being as folksy as he is, he really, endeared himself to the people of West Virginia early on up until this point. Now it's a completely different story, but that's because of the record, because of his coaching record and because of the lack of wins and the lack of a signature win. I mean, we can talk about that, Stephen. I know we've kind of digressed and went off topic a little bit as we tend to do, but this is a good discussion to have, I feel like. But I mean, what's the signature win? I mean, is it
There isn't
Virginia Tech last year? I mean, because it's a
Let's
rivalry.
hope not.
That's a team with the Virginia Tech finished with the losing record. So
That's what I'm saying. Let's hope that that's not the signature win, because if that's what the signature win is, then we're not getting very, very far as a program. And I feel like that's what your main goal is all the time, is to progress a program further and further. It's not to stay stagnant where you're at when you were hired on board. That's not your job. If your job is to be the head football coach, you come in to win football games and increase the prestige and the reputation of a program. And we haven't done anything but stay stagnant. And if you're basing, if your signature win is off of a losing program who has just fired their football coach and is on their own rebuild, then you're in trouble. That's, in my humble opinion.
I think trouble definitely abounds. So we'll see how it plays out moving forward. Definitely plenty of time to see what may come. But that being said, Stephen, let's dive in. I think it's about that time to get into our keys to victory and our score predictions for Game 3 of the WVU football season. All right, so key to victory and score prediction segment here, pretty much self-explanatory. We're going to each give what we feel is the key for a West Virginia victory, and then follow that up with our score prediction for the game against Towson on Saturday. This one, September 17th in Morgantown, 1:00 kick on ESPN Plus again. But Stephen, what are you thinking as far as the key to victory in this one, to finally get the Mountaineers on the winning side of things, get the taste of losing out of our mouth for the first time in a while, both the team and the fan base, and get the Mountaineers their first win of 2022? What are they going to have to do? What's your key to victory? And then do they do it? What's your score prediction?
I want to say that the key to victory this week for me would be attitude. Coming off of two very close games at the end of the game, games that you probably should have won. I think that your attitude needs to be, you need to have a fire in your belly. You need to come out and you need to prove a point. And if they're frustrated with how the fan base is frustrated, then come out and prove us wrong. That would be the attitude that I would approach this game with. With that being said, I think that I think that they're going to come out with a point to prove, especially with it being a team that they know they can beat. Hopefully, they don't come out and play down to their competition like we all know that they have the ability to do. With that being said, I think that the Mountaineers do bounce back this week, and hopefully, this prediction doesn't serve as a bad omen like it did last week. But I'm going with West Virginia. I'm going to pick them to win 42-21. I just didn't see a lot out of that defense last week that makes me believe that they're going to hold Towson to under that. They may even score more than that on West Virginia, but I think West Virginia gets over 40 points this week, so I'm going to go 42-21.
I like it. Yeah, my key to victory is kind of similar as well. I went with resiliency. I think that this team has shown, to be resilient in the way that they do fight. That's the one, silver lining you can look at with this team, is they definitely are fighters. They, fought to the bitter end against, Pitt in the backyard brawl. And then last week, even when I think a lot of, the fans and a lot of, people have kind of maybe cut the TV off, maybe left the stadium, they kept fighting and, made it forced overtime. And so I think they've shown to be resilient, but they need to really keep that resiliency going in this one, with all the echoes from the fan base as far as the questions with the coaching staff and the questions if this team can win any more games beyond this one, and just keep their head down and grind and show that they're resilient and just come out and play and win and take care of business and move on to the next one and continue to do that week to week. And I think it starts here, and just, getting a win, I think would be great for this team, getting a win under their belts. So being resilient is a great way to do that. So that's my key in this one. Score prediction, not far behind where you are. I think the defense is going to sadly probably give up some points in this one, more so than you'd like to see versus an FCS team. But I think, part of that is maybe because West Virginia is trying out some of these young guys, and hopefully West Virginia finds some hidden gems that they didn't know that they had, and figures out the pieces that they're going to need to try and be successful for the remainder of the season on defense, because something's got to give there. And hopefully that does. But I think the Mountaineers finally get on the winning side of things, and I'm going 48-28 West Virginia with a 20-point win over Towson to get their first victory in 2022. So both predicting a win. Hopefully we're right, and the Mountaineers get on the winning side of things. They should, but we know how should has worked out this season. So definitely tune in to ESPN Plus if you can at 1 o'clock on Saturday. If not, of course, Tony on the call is going to do a great job. But check out the Mountaineers as they look to get on the first side and, get on the winning side in 2022. And also, if you haven't already, got to drop the reminder. If you're watching the video side of this podcast, hit the like button. That'll help this video's performance and help our future video performances as well. And if you're watching on our YouTube channel or on the WV Sports Now YouTube channel, as we are now featured on WVSports.com, part of the WV Sports Now podcast network over there, hit the subscribe button, whether it be on that channel or ours here at the Country Roads Webcast. Helps us, helps you, helps get more of this Mountaineer football content out to Mountaineer Nation. Season 5, episode 134 here with the Towson Preview and Predictions. Episode 135, we'll be back with our Towson review and reaction. Probably going to release that, Sunday or Monday. But, immediately following the game on Saturday, be sure and tune in to the Voice of College Football YouTube channel and the West Virginia Voice of College Football YouTube channel. Subscribe those up if you haven't. We're hosting post-game there all season long, immediately following the games. And you can get a little bit of our instant reactions there with that. So be on the lookout for that. And then, of course, the Q&A stream coming on our channel before the Towson game, in between the time that this podcast is released and kickoff of the game. So stay tuned to our social medias for updates on that. If you're watching on the video side, you see it on the screen there. If you're listening on the audio side, we'll give it out to you. Twitter at WVU Country Roads, Facebook and Instagram, Country Roads Webcast, all one word there. And if you're on the audio side, if you're on Apple Podcasts, leave us a rating. That helps us as well. That being said, Stephen, we've predicted, we've gave our keys to victory. We've talked a little bit about what we want to see from all three units of the Mountaineer football team. Little off-topic babble and even, final thoughts on Kansas and possibly the future of the Neil Brown and the West Virginia football program. That being said, we've delved into a little bit of everything, but, there's always, something left maybe. So final thoughts, anything you got?
Hey, there's always basketball season, right?
Hey, I don't know.
No, I will say this. I think that I think we're going to see some surprises out of this football team still yet this year. We're still early on in this football season, so there's still some work to be done, I guess, but there's still some good moments that could be had. So with that said, we've been tough on them. I'm trying to remain as optimistic as I possibly can. But yeah, I really think that, we got to be more optimistic as a fan base as a whole. I think that's a lot of the problem too sometimes, but yeah, other than that, I don't know. I think I'm babbling on at this point.
No, you're good, man. I'd agree with everything you said. Basically, if I had to sum it up, I would just say, take your seatbelt, strap it on, buckle it in. It's going to be a wild ride probably for this 2022 football season for the remainder of it. Who knows where the road's going to take us? We may, wind up off the road at some points, but I think, ultimately we're going to have a lot of fun along the way with an exciting offense to watch and just, keeping our ear to the ground on what may come as far as coaching moves or non-coaching moves, or who knows, we may be sitting here in a few months completely shocked that the Mountaineers turned it around and won most of the rest of their games, and we're telling everybody to trust the climb again. Who knows?
I was going to say, if we're sitting here in a few months and we're sitting at 10-2, I will gladly hop back on that Neil Brown train, and I will be proud to say that, that I did so. But I've got to see. I've got to see it proven to me first. You know what I mean? Like you made it a point in the beginning of the year. This is the show me year. This truly is the show me year. So
Yeah, definitely. So far, not been shown what we thought we'd been shown, but it did make me laugh because I saw a picture on Twitter. I wish I could think of who shared it, and I didn't get to see. I can't remember, who's what the Twitter handle was, but I thought it was great because it was like the caption was like me after West Virginia turns it around and wins like 9 out of their next 10 or something like that, and it was a picture of Neil Brown in the car from that Chick-fil-A commercial we did. And the caption of the picture is that quote from Mean Girls. But it's like it says, "Get in, loser. We're trusting the climb again." I was like, yeah,
I would love it. I would absolutely love it because I do. I love Neil Brown as a person and as a man. But man, you got to do your job.
Hey, but the way I see it, I'm already eating crow right now for preaching trust the climb and being such an adamant Neil Brown apologist, and then having it turn so quickly the other way and abruptly to where I'm like, oh, I think I might have been wrong on this one. So I'm already doing that. So if I have to come back around and do a complete 360 back around again and start preaching trust the climb again because we're winning again, that's fine. I'm already here. I'm already here. So I might as well come all the way back around.
Is it so wrong that we want our team to be successful? Is that such a bad thing?
Absolutely not.
I don't think so.
Absolutely not. That's what we're here for. We're here to cheer on the Mountaineers, and when they're down, we get to bitch about it, and when they're up, we can be super happy about it, and brag a little bit, and it won't be too long before we know it, we'll be able to brag again. So until that time, we're going to chronicle it all along the way here on the Country Roads Webcast. But I guess that's pretty much a wrap here for Season 5, Episode 134, our Towson Preview and Predictions edition. That being said, like I said, hit the like button on your way out if you haven't already. That'll really help. And be sure and subscribe if you haven't already. Helps us, helps you, helps get more of this Mountaineer football content out to Mountaineer Nation as we continue to try and grow the Country Roads Webcast community. And be on the lookout for more from us coming in the very near future. Plenty of Mountaineer football content along the way. That being said, for Steven, as always, I'm Jordan Cruz. And until next time, let's go, Mountaineers.
If you really want to know, then come on, let's go. Take a stroll down those